Okay, I think we're going to get started. Thank you for being here. We have a complicated day today because we've been handed a bucket of chaos, and I'm hopeful that with careful thought and goodwill, we can organize some of that chaos and move through the difficult moment that we find ourselves in. The chancellor and the provost will be joining us, I believe, at about 4, I hope. The chancellor was called to the system office regarding student mental health, as you may have seen in his message this morning. And the provost is, I believe, with the faculty in the School of Government, or maybe still with the trustees. And our colleagues there are waiting, of course, for word of a new dean. We will also be joined by Dean White. I hope that he will be joining. He's hoping by about 3:30 that he'll be with us. And then also by Professor Mark Krasinski, who is the chair of the Council of Chairs in the college. He is also having a faculty meeting with his faculty, I believe, in philosophy at this time. And so there seem to be lots of conflicting meetings today. A few things from a logistics standpoint before I move into the substance of my remarks. Please use the mics that are set up in either aisle. We don't have mics on the tables in this room, so you'll need to do that, and you can help each other with passing them or however you want to do that. Remember that we are being live streamed and recorded as always. And I want to say a welcome to those of you who are joining us either by Zoom or in cyberspace. I have elected to turn off the chat today, and I know that that can sometimes be a controversial decision, but this is just such a kind of, there's so much going on and so much to sort out that I didn't feel like I could do a good job of monitoring the chat. But please know that all of you have representatives in the room and on Zoom, and you could email them, text them, whatever, with questions or comments that you would like to have brought into the conversation. Is that all the logistics that I need to talk about right now? Okay, great. Before we get into the chaos that we need to sort out today, I'd like to take a minute to acknowledge the campus community at Michigan State, their faculty, staff, and students. They endured and are enduring the unthinkable this week. And when a shooting happens on a college campus, we all feel our own vulnerability as well. And we know that our campus safety folks are doing their best to keep our campus safe. And I thank them for that hard work. The responsibility they carry and feel is enormous. And for myself, on a day-to-day basis, I often forget about this and block these sorts of things out. It's a way of coping, I suppose. But Michigan State reminds us to do our parts to educate ourselves about campus preparedness and to discuss preparedness in our departments, to invite campus safety to come and talk with us about how best to do what we can, even though it will probably never be enough. So I'd like to just ask you to join me in a moment of silence for Michigan State and for all those affected by mass shootings. Thank you. Next, I want to take a moment to appreciate all of you and our staff and students. Part of what has been difficult in recent weeks is the implicit and sometimes explicit disparagement of our faculty by those who are supposed to be our biggest fans. But sometimes we have to be our own biggest fans. Just recently, I was chairing a search in the School of Social Work for a joint position with the Lineberger Cancer Center. And as I got to know new colleagues from Lineberger that I'd not known before, I was just so inspired by them, by their work on psychosocial aspects of cancer. And getting to know them and work together was such an enriching opportunity. And it's those sorts of things that I think we sometimes forget to treasure, those moments of collaboration and collegiality among the faculty, moments where we really see our students grow and blossom. and the interactions with our staff, which for me, several of them are sitting right here who I appreciate so much. So just a moment to say thank you and to note that. So this tumultuous period on our campus, it comes at a time when many of us were just beginning to recover from the exhaustion of recent years. For myself, I was feeling more hopeful that we would have a full academic year of relative calm. And that I could maybe coast out for these last 6 months, but which was not to be. I was beginning to enjoy that breathing room, and I expect you might have been in that situation too. And then came the word 3 weeks ago that the Board of Trustees from our university was announcing in the national media a school of civic life and leadership. And indeed, the trustees have said two different things about this school, and I think this is a critical point. At the meeting at which their resolution was passed, there were statements that the resolution was simply advisory to the chancellor. And indeed, when I spoke with the chair of the Board of Trustees about it, he emphasized this point. And I asked him what would happen if the faculty were to say no. And he replied, "That's okay, don't do it." But in their interviews and writing in the media, the message is quite different. Those messages say that a school is to be formed, new faculty will be hired to staff it, it will be a separate entity from existing colleges and schools, but somehow housed within the college. And most recently, in the Charlotte Observer and in comments from the provost, the message seems to be that somehow the faculty has already voted on the school or elements of the school, meaning that we really have no reason to be upset and that standard operating procedures have been followed. In the midst of all of this, I've been receiving requests and directives to do something. Route this to the college and to relevant committees, along with questions about what the process actually is. And to my way of thinking, I see this as being asked to take responsibility, to figure it out, and to colloquially take this monkey off of the desk of someone else's desk and put it on mine and collectively ours. But there is a problem with monkeys. They are notoriously difficult to get one's arms around, and they're difficult to control. And in the wrong settings, they do destructive things. So I have been trying to think long and hard before accepting this monkey. As I've written to you before, there's a problem in the college with the Ideas in Action curriculum. In 2024, a large group of juniors and seniors will be needing to engage in a particular part of the curriculum, communication beyond Carolina. And there is not teaching capacity to do that right now. That is a problem that I think everyone agrees needs to be solved. In addition, the trustees are saying that there is another problem to be solved, and that relates to ideological balance on campus, bringing more conservative viewpoints to the table, addressing situations in which students fear the judgment of their peers if they express their views, etc. Some of us may believe that is a problem and some may not, but the important thing is separating these problems out. Solving one does not mean solving the other, and vice versa. However, the new school is reportedly an idea that the provost believed, based on his budget memo and the attached budget justification, would solve both. But that is not necessarily a shared perspective. So as I mentioned, later today, we will be joined by Dean White and the council and Professor Krasinski, the chair of the Council of Chairs. And hopefully they will arrive very soon. I have spoken with Dean White, and I believe that we are on the same page as to how to approach the current moment. We have to decouple what is needed by the college from all of our questions and concerns about this new school. So to begin, and I know I'm talking a lot today, and I am going to open the floor in a little bit, but I want to review what's happened in the past, what has been voted on and what hasn't. So Helena, could you share, or do I need to share the screen of those links? Yes, please. And I will take a moment to just thank the Office of Faculty Governance staff. They put all of this together for me earlier in the week. So please join me in thanking them. So I think I could begin while we're doing that, but you will have the relevant links up. So as I mentioned, in various news outlets, there have been assertions that the faculty have already voted on elements that are related to the new school that they are stating or advising should be created. And that includes voting for the program on public discourse and voting on the ideas and action general education curriculum. But what I learned this week as I reviewed all of these documents and links, which they're coming, and they're really just a list with dates and what they are, these different documents, is that in fact, there was never a vote taken on the program for public discourse. There was a lot of discussion in lots of settings, both at the faculty executive committee, I'm sure in the college, there were discussions here at faculty council, but there was never a vote taken to establish that program. The only resolution, which I think we're going to see shortly, was a resolution to delay the implementation of the program for public discourse. And that resolution did not pass. So the program was simply announced at some point and went forward. So in contrast, do I need to exit full screen or something like that? Okay. Is this it? That's it, yeah. Okay, let's see if I can do it. Okay, voila. Okay. Okay, do you have the PPD page too? Do you have the PPD page too? It's the next one. Oh, it's the next one. Okay, so since I brought that one up first. Oh, how can I make you bigger? I think I can do it. Is this available for us anywhere? We can make it available, certainly. Yeah. Yeah. Can people see that now? All right, so I can pull up anything that you'd like me to pull up, but this is the only resolution that exists on the program for public discourse. Would you like me to open that? Or does it matter? Yeah, okay. Well, if I can, let's see, open hyperlink. Here we go. Right, so this is the resolution, and all it is a resolution. Do I need to make that bigger? Let's see. The plus sign at the top, thank you. Oh, sorry, oh gosh, okay. All right, let's see. Voila.
The screen sharing is only sharing the Word document.
How's that? Okay, so you can see that this resolution is a resolution to delay implementing the program. It is not a resolution saying yes or no to the program. So sometimes, to the historians in the room, thank you. History is important and is something, that has been helpful in this situation.
Mimi, we can't see the document.
Yeah, the resolution doesn't show on the Zoom. We just see the document. list of meetings. Okay. Yep, come help me drive, Elena. I can't. I'm too.
It's gonna take all of this.
Yes, okay, very good. Okay. There was a response, so that resolution was debated over 2 meetings. And so that resolution came up, it was tabled for a future meeting. Our now provost came back with a response to this rationale that was discussed at the meeting. Then the resolution was voted on and it was voted down at that time. So that's it. That's all that's been voted on as regards PPD, which is, couldn't quite believe it. I called Elena and said, am I understanding this right? Have I missed something? But that is the case. So moving backwards to ideas in action, Elena, if we can. So thank you. These are the relevant links for the Ideas in Action curriculum. And you'll see that that Ideas in Action had at least, I think by my count, it was 11 or 12 meetings in which Ideas in Action was on the faculty council agenda. And that doesn't include, of course, all of the many meetings that went before that or came in between. With other relevant constituencies and to address various pieces of that puzzle. So that begins in 2016 and a vote to adopt occurs in 2019. And so that is again, we did vote to adopt the Ideas in Action curriculum. So these are 2 very separate things. There is a vote on one, there was no vote on the other. So in summary, we have not voted on a new school. We've not voted on an expansion of PPD. And indeed, we never voted on PPD. And what we did vote on was Ideas in Action. And this brings us again to this idea that we need to assist, right? That what we need to do to assist right now is to help the college get what it needs in order to meet the objectives of the Ideas in Action curriculum. Specifically, the communication beyond Carolina component that needs to be ready to go to scale 18 months from now. So at this point, I want to pause and open the floor for a few minutes, just ask if there are comments, questions, thoughts. Rich.
Did this group vote on this?
Use the microphone, please, so people not getting through.
Was a vote taken on the creation of the School for Data Science and Society?
No, and we're going to get to that in a moment. There was no vote taken on that either. There was, again, a lot of robust discussion, and we have people, I believe, in the Zoom and in the room that are going to help us think about that process in a minute, because it is the only process in recent history where we have an example of a school being formed on this campus. Eric.
Yeah, Eric Mullen from the School of Law. Excuse me. I'm wondering if anyone in the room recalls whether in the context of the discussions about the Ideas in Action curriculum, this was happening at least roughly contemporaneously with the PPD idea, at least within the space of a year or so. I'm wondering if in the consideration or discussions of Ideas in Action, PPD was mentioned, raised, voiced as a component of the communicating beyond Carolina piece.
Elise, thank you. Yeah, please remember. Yes, thanks.
Elise Crystal in English and Comparative Literature. One thing I wanted to point out and remind us is that PPD was never proposed as a curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
It was explicitly a non-curricular program. So not only was it not brought up during Ideas in Action, but it would have been inappropriate since it wouldn't play any role in the rolling out of the curriculum, except that it would provide programming that students would be able to attend that would, maybe actually fulfill the requirement for communications beyond Carolina.
And I want to invite some of the folks that were probably very involved in these discussions. Ron, I see you in the back of the room. If there's anything, any history that you remember related to this that you want to bring in, please just feel free. Yeah. And I think the other really important thing, Eric, to your point, is that Ideas in Action started in 2016. And wasn't voted on until 2019, whereas PPD was sort of all 2019. So they sort of culminated together, but didn't necessarily originate together. Yeah.
Mark McNeely, School of Business. I think we're confusing the Board of Trustees resolution with the fact that this program, or at least the idea for this was, at least as I understand it, and I would be interested in learning more, was in the works and was proposed by the provost. And so I think we're confusing the fact that the Board of Trustees did a resolution on it with the fact that this was an idea that was being generated, and it kind of got a little short circuited. And so I don't understand the idea that the fact that, as far as I understand it, the provost is faculty. And so when I look back at the the School of Data Science, it was started, the idea, as I understand it, if I'm correctly, was started by the provost at that time, and started with a couple of faculty, and it then of course grew much bigger. But these things have to generate somewhere, and so I think we got to be clear as to what's actually happening and not be blinded by the publicity around what the Board of Trustees did. And we got to be understanding of the process by which this thing is happening, or has happened, and the fact that it is faculty driven.
So I do want to admit, does anyone want to respond to that? Or I have a response, but I'll wait for others. Yeah, I can say that it's now been 3 weeks, over 3 weeks since that resolution was passed. And I've been waiting for someone to write to me and say, actually, I was involved in a working group, or I was involved in a conversation about this, or something like that. And no one has written any such thing. So that. Well, people write to me about everything. Yeah.
I'm curious as to why you would think people who are having discussions about this would think that, hey, the first thing I got to do is email the faculty chair to tell her I was involved in it. I'm curious.
Are you saying you were involved?
Huh?
Are you saying that you were on such a committee and you wanted to offer that?
That's not what I'm saying.
No.
No. I'm just asking a question as to why you think that that would be the case, but it seems
Well,
curious
if
to me.
you had been in my role for the last 3 years, you would know how many people write to me
I'm
about
sure a lot
things.
of people write.
And they write and they
Maybe.
correct me when I'm wrong. And so if I'm saying something in the media that's incorrect, then they call and they say, Mimi, you've got it wrong. So in that, I'm used to that. So it's odd that 3 weeks would go by and no one would say, well, actually, there has been involvement in this way or that way. Rich.
I would just add that the School for Data Science and Society underwent quite an extensive planning with the faculty. And I don't know anything about planning for this thing that the Board of Trustees has put forward.
Thank you. Beth.
Yeah, Beth Morocco, Gilling School of Global Public Health. And, to your point, you said faculty been involved. I hear one faculty who's the provost. And what I'll say just for some context is I was the director of our MPH program in our department for 8 years. In that capacity, we went through an extensive overhaul of that degree. It went from a departmental degree to a school-wide degree. We had 2 graduate program reviews, a SACS report, and a reaccreditation for our school. And I can tell you that this process that we've just heard about, or lack of process, is an anomaly. I mean, we went through extensive vetting for every aspect of that curriculum. We did an environmental scan of our peer institutions. We did a survey of our alumni, our faculty, our students, the employers of our graduates to know what are the needs in terms of knowledge, in terms of skills. And so, you know, the reason that we're reacting with such concern is that this process is not typical. So it's not an unfounded concern that we are, you know, that we are concerned.
Yeah, no, I totally understand why people are, you know, concerned about the Board of Trustees and the resolution. I guess the way I look at it, it was, the
thanks.
process was beginning and it got short circuited. And so in my mind, you need the process to flow out, and we seem to be jumping to conclusions as to this was supposed to be the entire process, and I mean, maybe that was, but I don't have
Okay,
any.
let's bring in some other voices. We have a hand on Zoom and we have and Harry's hand is up.
Thank you, Mimi. This is not going to be a long comment, but just that in the 3 weeks that we have learned about this, and it's generated a lot of controversy, one of the most controversial points I remember is whether this idea really came from faculty or not. That's part of what we have been debating. So it seems to me that if there were a working group, or if there were a group of people who got together and said, hey, what we need is this school, then a natural thing to do would be to announce that somehow and to write the newspaper, to have a press conference, all the different things that the advocates of this school have done, except pulled forward faculty members saying, no, this is our idea. So I know that the absence of evidence doesn't prove exactly what, it might, but that's a very, very suggestive circumstance in a community that is founded on lots of talk.
Thank you. And someone has their hand up on Zoom. I can't see. Oh, Don, thank you. Unmute and please join the conversation.
Right, my only comment is, well, to my knowledge, two things in following the thread here. To my knowledge, the program in public discourse is not found in the document of the ideas in action curriculum. That's number one. And number two is because, at least as I've been led to understand, the proposal is to establish this as a division of the College of Arts and Sciences. You would think that there would be a proposal presented at some level within the college on faculty involvement in the establishment of this. And there, to my knowledge, there is none.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Any other comments or clarifications, questions? Okay. Oh, sorry. Yep.
Hi, I'm Keith Sawyer in the School of Education. I guess I'm a little puzzled about why this is coming up in this body, because as I understand it, the Board of Trustees has passed a resolution to request the administration to do something. The administration at the moment doesn't seem to have done anything. So at some point, if the administration chooses to do something, I think that would be Kevin and Chris, the provost, right? At that point, I don't know what would happen, but that might be an appropriate time for some of the faculty to express their opposition to the provost and the chancellor at that time. The provost and the chancellor could refuse Board of Trustees request. If they accept it, Chris represents the faculty at some level. At that time, I would expect some sort of faculty committee to be formed, some advisory group. I can attest there are faculty here on campus who would be delighted to join a group like this, to support a school like this, and that includes me.
Okay.
So there certainly isn't just the provost, the chancellor, and Board of Trustees. But it seems a little premature at this time for us to be voting on a resolution for something that hasn't happened yet.
Well, the resolution is a separate, I'm trying to sort of lay groundwork so that we understand exactly where we are. So there are two reasons to be discussing it in the body right now, Keith. I want you to understand that. I mean, first of all, this is the place where faculty come together. This is one place where we discuss things like that. So we can discuss that without we can have a conversation without having any action whatsoever on the agenda or taking any action or whatever, but it's still important to make use of forums to have the conversation about what people are experiencing as they read these news stories, et cetera. And second, I have actually been asked to take action. I've received the provost's budget memo and his attached justification. And he has told me to route it through the college and to distribute it to the appropriate committees. And so that is, again, that's the monkey being delivered to me. And I am not sure that this is a monkey that I can accept because A, there aren't clear committees for something like this. And B, the assertions that have been made about what the faculty has already approved based on the history and doing this homework this week, the history to support it is not there. So that's something that we have to know and understand as a faculty in order to know how to move forward. So. Jan, I hear you have your hand up, although I can't see you.
So I don't know if I really know what to think about the school, but I heard about some reports that the accreditation body SACS is looking into this, and that has me concerned. Do we know anything about that?
Yes, we do. The SACS has apparently let and Giselle, maybe you know more about this. You don't, okay. That has let the university know that they will be receiving a letter of inquiry about what has gone on. And I know that the provost has had what he described as a cordial conversation with Belle Whelan from SACS. Okay, now I think it might be useful to take a break. We're going to come back to this, but to break because the dean of the college is not yet here. I thought I saw Mark come in. Did I see Mark? Oh, there you are. You're hiding. Wise man. But Mark, before we come to some of your comments, and maybe we'll wait for the dean, I'm wondering if we have our former provost, Bob Lewin, with us today. Really appreciate him being here. We have Professor Jay Icott, and on Zoom, we have Dean Gary Marcinini from the School of Information and Library Science. And I wondered if you might take a moment to talk with us about the School of Data Science and kind of what that process ended up looking like, just for a point of information. And you can come up there. Yeah, why don't you lead us, Bob, if you would. Jay, do you want to join? Yeah. Gary, are you unmuted? Yeah, great, thank you.
I am.
Okay, wonderful. So I'll just let you all sort of take it from here.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. It's been a long time.
Nice to see everyone. Jay and I will, and Gary will try to give you an overview, quick overview as to how we approached the introduction of a new school in data science. And I guess I can start it off, and I will count heavily on Jay. Jay just has an encyclopedic memory of all of the work that has been done in this space. And this was not a new concept, data science. We've been talking about doing something in the domain of data science on this campus for over 10 years. There have been numerous committees charged by numerous individuals to explore the possibilities. And there are many different structures that had been proposed, during the course of the last 10 to 12 years. Some of them were to create an institute, create a center. And I guess I got involved as the provost in the fall of 2017 and the spring of 2018. And there was a study that was conducted by faculty charged by the Vice Chancellor for research. And the intent of that study was, what should we do? And then that study was brought to me for consideration. And I'm assuming it was for consideration of funding and or support. And when I met with that committee, and some of you were in the room, I believe at that time, my first reaction to it was that this was a very important area. We were looking at our peers across the country, and they were moving a lot faster than we were. In particular, Berkeley and Virginia were receiving relatively large gifts in order to support the creation of a school for data science. And my first reaction was that I thought that the creation of another center or an institute, although nice, was not going to be bold enough or aggressive enough. And some of that was reinforced to me as we were beginning to have some conversations with companies like Amazon and Apple. And they were telling us, how critical it was going to be in order for them to be successful if they were to migrate, into the RTP area, that all of the universities associated with the RTP community needed to make a fairly big commitment to data science. Now, the fact is that this university has a lot of outstanding faculty working in data science. They are in individual schools, individual departments. And so if you look at, there is individual strength, on this campus, but it's not concentrated. And to the outside world, we are somewhat invisible as it relates to a concentration in the area of data science. We were nowhere close to producing undergraduates with data science backgrounds. The closest to that was computer science, and our colleagues in computer science, I think for those in the college know that computer science has been in high demand. And when you talk to students, who were exploring the area of computer science, many of them had interest in data science, but were somewhat unsure of, how the computer science and data science intersected. And so that's what stimulated me to meet with the committee again. And basically, after carefully reviewing their concept, saying that I didn't think having a center or an institute was bold enough for us, and that we needed to move quickly. And so then in the spring of 2018, I asked Dean Gary Macciani if he would lead a very broad-based committee, a steering committee. And then that steering committee would put together 5 or 6 seven subcommittees. And those 7 subcommittees would be occupied by about 110, 120 faculty and staff and some student representation. And they each had individual charges, and we met weekly. We met a lot, right, Gary? Weekly, yeah. We met weekly. And as you know, as the custom, I met with the faculty executive committee every other week, not to talk about data science, but just to talk about stuff. And then I met monthly with you, faculty council. And I can tell you that I know with the faculty executive committee, at least once every 2 months or so, I would give an update on where we were with regards to data science. And I was really asking for people to tell me, is this a bad idea? Should we not do this? So most of the response that I received was that this was important, that we should continue to explore. And so that's how we sort of got started. We then did recognize that data science is a ubiquitous topic. in that many of our schools and departments have interests in data science, and that includes the humanities and all aspects of the arts and sciences, the STEM fields, as well as the biomedical life sciences fields. And so in order for us to really think about how we might envision a presence of something really significant on this campus, we wanted to kind of rethink how a school might be created, and that the school should not just be vertical in its conceptualization of itself, but rather a combination of vertical and horizontal. And so we envisioned a school that would have joint faculty from across the campus with participants and from individual departments and schools, and that the support for those faculty would come from the School of Data Science and be leveraged in a way that would enable us to have a large critical mass of intellectual talent in the various areas of data science, so that not only could Carolina be strong in the application of data science, that we could be strong in the science of data science. And so that was our aspirational goal. And so then, Gary, maybe I could turn it to you to talk a little bit about the committee and how it functioned and how it came together with regards to a concept, if that's okay with you. We had not rehearsed, so I don't even know if Gary wants to do this.
Sure. Thanks, Bob. That was great. I just put together. Can you see these slides that I'm sharing right now?
Yes.
Okay. So this was kind of what Bob was talking about 10 years. This was kind of the history of various committees, and I want to focus on this steering committee that Bob just mentioned, that Jay and I chaired. And just to demonstrate the breadth of campus input. You know, what Bob has said, yeah, almost 100 people, weekly meetings. There were 7 subcommittees. We had an all campus kickoff on 9/11 2019. We had lots and lots of meetings. Jay and I and others met with just about every group on campus, including faculty council, leadership groups. Here are the chairs of these committees, and just, I mean, you can have this, but these are the people who are on all these different committees. So, I mean, they were representatives of faculty and staff from across the campus. I've sent this to faculty council, so you can sort of do with it what you want. But I just wanted to, you know, sort of demonstrate that there was a lot of activity here. And pretty intentional and intensive. And I need to jump off in a few minutes for a faculty candidate that we're interviewing. But I know that Jay can then pick up from here and explain what happened after this kind of 9 to 12 month period in which we did extensive investigation and vetting across the campus for the creation of this school.
Well, before Jay does that, I would just say that even though we felt that data science was ubiquitous and touched every unit, there were some units on this campus that were touched more than others. And you might think, you know, intuitively, you know, which units that might be. Obviously, computer science and statistics, biostatistics, mathematics, of course, and also SILS. And then if you look at some of the unit that was hiring the most data scientists as a part of their organization, the School of Medicine, you know, for example, was very big into data science. So they all had a stake in it. And we did think about in terms of structures, well, maybe we should just embed this in the college, you know, as a new department. But then after a lot of discussion, the steering committee just didn't think that would be the right direction. And we also thought about embedding it, you know, or having it be an outgrowth of SILS, you know, because SILS had a core nucleus of a critical mass of faculty there. They had the infrastructure for the organization, a management organization. But in the end, we decided not to do that either in terms of our final proposal. But we did go through a process, in which we engaged several of these units very intensely because they had such a high stake in it. And we wanted to make sure that their voices were heard at a very different level than perhaps everybody else's. And I'm going to ask Jay to describe that, if that's okay.
In terms of campus-wide?
Yeah.
So we did, as Bob and Gary have both said, during the 2019-20 academic year, that was the time when the steering committee and all these 7 subcommittees were meeting. And I recall going to not just the FEC and faculty council, but we went to several like computer science, STORE, math, SILS, at their faculty meetings to present to them what we were doing, what the process was, and also get their feedback. Because we considered what we were doing more in draft stage so that people could give us feedback. We also went to the Gillings School Council of Chairs meeting, as well as the College Council of Chairs meeting, so that it wasn't just the, CS, math, that kind of core, but we were getting input from humanities and social sciences as well. And we had sub meetings, like I remember having meetings with the Senior Associate Dean for the Arts and Humanities in the college with some of their chairs. So all of this was, to let them know what we were doing and get their feedback as well. So some of them, we had multiple meetings depending on their involvement and interest, but it was pretty wide. School of Medicine, also the Clinical and Basic Science Chairs Council, we went to that. And I think we remember going to APS as well, yeah.
Thank you. Now, one of the questions that we had early, and this might be obvious, but who has to approve this? And so I did call the system office and asked for their guidance. And I was a little bit surprised. We haven't created a new school on this campus since the School of Government, and that was over almost 25 years ago. And so I was told that no, the Board of Governors doesn't have to approve a new school. They approve new courses, but not the new school. And so the new school would be primarily a Chapel Hill decision. And so I did begin to once we got a first draft from all, and this was as a result of all the input that we had from those 7 committees and the 120 faculty, et cetera, we had a 14-page proposal and shared this with the chancellor. And we began to quietly socialize this with a few trustees just to let them know that this was being thought about. Obviously, this is one of the things that I made clear on the front end of this is that we needed to have strong funding for this. We could not shoehorn this into our existing budget. We needed new dollars. And we looked at various aspects of how this could be budgeted. And we were envisioning that some of the money would come from tuition dollars, some would come from new state appropriations, and some would come from new development opportunities. And so as we were thinking about all of that, we wanted to make sure that the Board of Trustees, was knowledgeable of it, and hopefully down the road involved in helping us to sell this. From our standpoint, we thought that a school for data science, given the nature of the state of North Carolina, and particularly the business interests within the state, that programs at the undergraduate level, master's level, and PhD level with strategic faculty partnerships with industry would be wonderful, and that this would be a relatively easy sell, on the grand scheme of things, within the university. So we felt pretty confident, that this was a good idea, but we did want to get the Board of Trustees. So I think our first meeting with the Board of Trustees was in 2020
March.
I'm sorry?
2020.
2020 in March, and we introduced the concept to them then. But this was not a proposal yet because we didn't have it all finished, and we wanted to make sure that we had all of the input from the faculty. So I think that pretty much summarizes. Gary, did we miss anything?
No, great job. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Gary.
Since I said March 2020, I want to clarify one thing. I didn't realize you were saying the first meeting. The first meeting was sometime, I think in 2019-20, to just let them know that we were working on this. March 2020 was when we took the actual feasibility document that came out of all these 100+ people working on it. That was in fact the first remote meeting of the BOT. We were going right into the pandemic, and they endorsed that document at that time.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, do we have questions or comments, anything for this group, other than to say thank you so much for coming on very short notice, really appreciate it. To kind of review this history with us. I think it's very important.
I miss you all.
How many? Let's see. All right, based on that, are there other comments or observations from the floor?
I'm taking notes, so this is kind of a boring question. Are we in the facilitated discussion period of the agenda?
Yes,
Okay.
it's been very difficult to know how to structure the agenda because things keep happening every day and we didn't know that the provost wasn't coming at the beginning of the meeting until yesterday, so we've been changing things around. So I apologize for that.
No, thank you. And this is Allison Schlobaum from the business school. And while I'm here, I guess after the briefing we just got, I'm curious. So we've heard from no faculty who were involved in any kind of pilot committee or discussions. And I'm wondering, we do have multiple schools that would be very interested in this development. So the School of Government, Communication Studies Department. And I'm just wondering if anyone knows if any of those programs, I know Chris Lundberg is involved in the center. So I'm just wondering if anyone knows if any of those programs have been asked questions or.
I think this.
Hi there, Avi Santo. I'm the chair of the Department of Communication.
Right, I was just about to say hello and bring you into the conversation.
Hi. So the answer is no, we've not been involved in any discussion regarding a school. Chris Lundberg is a faculty member in our department. He also is working in the provost's office. So he's obviously having conversations, I think, with the provost that I am not, but I will say that he also seemed caught off guard by this proposal. And I should also mention, and I'll expand upon this later when once the dean gets here, that the Department of Communication was very heavily involved in preliminary conversations about how to address the Communication Beyond Carolina requirement. In fact, we put forward a proposal to the General Education Oversight Committee a couple of years ago for a communication lab that would address this need. It went through and passed, and it was only ultimately stymied for funding issues. It seems like if the funding issues are now potentially here, we already have a solution that could address this need that's already on the table, but we seem to be going at this from the sideways.
Yeah. So I want to emphasize again, I really think and I think that's very useful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Bob, for coming. I see you leaving. Thank you, Avi. And I appreciate you being here and being willing to tell us about some of this background. Also, I want us to disentangle these two. The only meaningful way forward is to disentangle the question of a school from the question of how to sort out ideas and action. These are two different animals. And so that's how we have to think about them if we're going to move forward in a productive fashion. The college needs a solution in 18 months. even if everyone in this school, in this room were gung ho to create a new school, that's not going to happen in 18 months. The problem remains. So if we can focus our attention there, I think we're going to be able to maybe move forward. Mark, do you have insight for us at this moment, maybe? And knowing that you probably are in, Mark is the chair of the Council of Chairs in the college, I know has been in conversation with the dean.
I just thought I'd share what I sent to you and to Dean White earlier today. I'm Mark Crescenzi in the Department of Political Science.
Maybe Helena can pull that up, the Mark's letter. Or could you, okay. Okay, I'm sorry.
Here in my capacity as the chair of the Council of Chairs, which is an ad hoc body of College of Arts and Sciences. On behalf of my own opinions, I wanted to say thanks for all the work that we've done and what you've been putting in.
Oh, perfect timing. Here's Dean White.
So this is a letter signed by some of the chairs in the Council of Chairs that was started last evening. So it's a sort of on short order, as is much of this. Right? It just simply says, we, the undersigned chairs in the College of the Arts and Sciences, support the dean of the college and his budget request to fulfill the college's commitment to the Ideas in Action curriculum. We also support the role and authority of the faculty council in determining the educational policies and activities of the university, according to section 2-8 in the faculty code of University of California. Signed by approximately, I think it's 28 of us, which is 3/4-ish, which is again on short notice, about 12 hours of work.
Right. Okay.
That's what we have to add.
Thank you so much. Dean White, I know you're just getting here. Maybe need to be, what we've tried to do thus far, I'll just bring you up to date with the agenda, is so we've gone through sort of thinking about what's been voted on in the past, what was never voted on, trying to decouple the issue of whether there should be a new school from the issue of what needs to happen in the Ideas in Action curriculum in 18 months. And also heard from the folks that were instrumental in putting together the School of Data Science, what that effort was like. And so I wonder if you want to take a moment, or would you be willing to just say a few words about what you see as the needs? And you, yes. Oh, yeah.
So just sort of where things are in my mind. So where things are in my mind and in the College of Arts and Sciences is that we have a mandate to implement the Ideas in Action undergraduate curriculum. That was voted on by the faculty.
Yes.
And that is what the college intends to do. There's a piece of that curriculum called Communication Beyond Carolina, which is supposed to be implemented in the senior year. And so our first years now would begin to take that in about a year and a half. That piece was never fully implemented, nor was it fully funded. One can say, yes, this is what universities do. If we can put it off, we will. And that's, but we didn't. So in the fall, I sat down with the folks and the deans in the college, and I said, all right, this is our responsibility. What are we going to do to make sure this happens? And so we put forward a budget request for sufficient funds to, as I have said, it was sort of a finger in the dike model. What can we hire enough faculty to teach the courses? Let me back up a second, because if you've read through the Communication Beyond Carolina requirement, it requires 70% of the course be communication based. So I'm a climate scientist. I talk about communication all the time, but I am nowhere near trained in communication, right? So we have a department of communication. We have people who understand the pedagogy behind communication.
Chair is right there.
Oh, okay. Definitely is. I must be saying the right thing because I didn't feel his eyeballs. Right? Okay, so we have, so this is not, so if we have faculty around the university who would like to join in on teaching, I think that's a good thing, but if you're not trained in this area, then training has to happen. So that's hard issue number one. Hard issue number two is that the requirement is supposed to be taught to small classes. And we have something in the neighborhood of 5,000 students who will need to take this requirement before they graduate every year. And so you do the math, right? And we don't have enough faculty in communication. I'm looking at Avi right now. And communication has been clear. They do not want to get swamped by this, and I don't want them to be swamped by this. So we put in a request for additional funds to hire additional faculty to implement the curriculum and put it in I think at a time when we needed to get going on this. You all know we can't just immediately hire faculty. We can't just immediately have the curriculum ready. So if this were to wait for a year beyond this summer, it would be problematic. And so we need to get moving on it now. So that was my request. The issue of the school came up in a conversation with the provost, and I'm on record, so I'll tell you this. I asked him to slow that down for several reasons. One is we are launching a school for data science and society, and having two schools happening at once was going to be a lot harder for us, I thought, to digest. The second is that I hadn't had a chance to talk with the faculty, and we haven't had a chance to talk with faculty governance about this. And so there's some steps that needed to be taken before I felt comfortable doing this. So I hadn't even had a chance to talk to the Department of Communication about what we were thinking. And the third reason was the communication beyond Carolina requirement is my number one focus. And we're going to remain my number one focus until we have the courses, the faculty to teach that to our students. And so I did not want to have another issue convolved into that. And so that was my three reasons that I asked the provost to slow that down. I do not know after that. I don't know
What happened? Okay. All right. Thank you. This is, I think, a very clarifying discussion. I think it has been for me to put all of these pieces together. Any questions, comments, anything that we want to bring up? Hugo? Hi.
Oh, you're great. It's for you, actually. Yeah, Hugo Mendez, Department of Religious Studies. So, in the budget request, we're hearing that this school is, or it's supposed to be a division within the college, et cetera. So I'm wondering how the decision to place it in the College of Arts and Sciences happened, what discussions you've had around why the college is at the center of this?
Well, the college is at the center of this because the college is at the center of teaching ideas in action curriculum. And this is part of ideas in action curriculum. If indeed there was discussion around a school and we were to go in that direction, that involves a whole lot of other issues that frankly I have not thought about. But I do know that I'll put my cards on the table. I think that the undergraduate curriculum, Communication Beyond Carolina, and the rest of the Ideas in Action curriculum should be taught as much as possible within the college. Although I would point out that Communication Beyond Carolina as a junior level requirement means that the professional schools are also need to be part of this. And I've talked to my fellow deans about that this is a requirement that all of the professional schools, I hope, would participate in. And that would also, I think, it would not only lighten the load, but I think it would show that the entire university is behind this requirement. Does that answer your question? Yeah, sure.
I think,
I'm good at missing questions. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Eric.
Oh, yeah.
That's, yeah, this is a question for you. Oh, excuse me. So I'm curious, not being.
Eric,
in
he
the
may
college,
not know you.
Eric Muller School of Law, not being in the college, I'm not as familiar with the intricacies of the communicating beyond Carolina component of the ideas in action curriculum. And so I'm curious to know, is the idea of communicating across ideological differences and disagreements, is that the essence of communicating beyond Carolina? Is that one piece of what we're trying to accomplish when we talk about communicating beyond Carolina? Are there other kinds of skills beyond sort of bridging partisan gaps that are are envisioned by the communicating beyond Carolina curriculum?
And Jim, I mean, say whatever you want and do whatever you want, but there are also many people in the room that may, that have been involved with this for a long time. So if there's something that you want other people to speak to, I'm seeing Abigail in the back of the room and folks that have been, and I think.
Part of that, I've been here for one whole semester.
Right, exactly. So.
It's not part of the genesis. I am responsible for delivering it.
Yeah.
Eric, it's a great question. And I think the answer is that communication by Carolina is supposed to be focused on having difficult conversations. Now, whether those difficult conversations are about abortion or climate change, I'm a climate scientist, I've had many such discussions, or whether they're about political divides, all of those are part of this. So I think that we have, unfortunately, no lack of material for difficult conversation. And we have, in the same breath, no lack for need for our students to have training in difficult conversations. My colleague here is going to answer what far better than I.
I don't know about that. I think it's a very good answer, Jim. I would say though that for us, a lot of the approach is understanding that it's not about the content of the conversations. It's about the skill sets that are involved in deliberation and in discussion, that oftentimes a failure to communicate effectively with one another means that we don't actually even get to discuss the content because we don't actually know how to address each other. So I think a lot of the focus on that curriculum is really about helping students acquire the skills that they're going to need to to be able to speak to different audiences, to understand how to use listening skills and nonverbal skills, as well as their communication skills in different contexts, to know the difference between how to deliberate in a forum such as this one versus a virtual forum on Zoom where that takes on very different conventions. So I think there's a lot of skill sets that are actively involved in this requirement that require expertise. I think content-wise, deliberation happens in most of our departments and areas, right? And that's wonderful. I think what we're focusing on here with this particular requirement is developing the skill set that allows for deliberation to be effective.
Told you it would be a better answer than mine.
Thank you. Abigail, anything you want to add, having been so involved for such a long time? Thank you, Remain.
Nothing to add specifically, but the description you just gave of communication beyond Carolina is exactly what we were talking about. And it's also preparation for communication beyond Carolina, just so that you know, so that when students go and they're lifelong learners, they're citizens, they're accomplishing major complex problems, solving them in teams, that we're going to get the best kind of outcome. So that's what it's about. When all of our graduates have their diploma, we could count on the fact that they have these kinds of skills. That's what we're aiming for. And the reason why we have a little bit of a delay in time is that we implemented, now we've had the fall and we're in the spring. And so this was the requirement that was the one that makes sense to just delay a little bit so that we can implement the rest of it. So now is the time that we have to solve this piece. Thank you.
If I could just editorialize slightly.
Yes.
I think it's a brilliant requirement. I think it sets us apart from other universities. I think it fulfills our responsibility to the state and to the nation to produce the best citizens we possibly can. And from a personal point of view, it's part of what brought me here to North Carolina. I was very impressed with the ideas in action curriculum. I wanted to be part of that.
Great, thank you. I see two hands.
This is Sridhar Balasubramanian from the Keenan Flagler Business School. So I'm just very curious about this, right? The School of Civic Life and Leadership. what are the goals of the school? What is it aiming to deliver that, for example, a combination of the communications department, the school of government, and other units that we have cannot deliver, right? So that's the one question I would ask fundamentally, because it's just not clear to me about what it brings to the table. And I'd like whoever's going to be a champion of this idea to clearly articulate that at some point. The second thing is that I think some of the resistance to this has been the origination of the idea, how quickly it has come on board and how far it has been, seems to have been pressed. I'm just wondering if it's just an idea right now, and like the very impressive process that the School of Data Science went through, if they put that through that ringer, would that make people feel better about, okay, this is a school that really has a distinctive niche, different from what the rest of the university does, and this is what they're going to do, et cetera.
Right. So two, I think, really good questions. First of all, I agree. We don't know what the vision is. I want to be clear, and I've said this other places, but we invited the chair of the Board of Trustees and the vice chair to come to the Faculty Executive Committee. The chair contacted me and said he would come. He asked me to have a meeting with him prior to that, which I did. And I will say that I waited for 30 minutes past our original time to meet for him to be prepared to meet with me. Met with him. That was on a Thursday afternoon. On Monday morning, I received a message that he asked be forwarded to the FEC that said that he needed to be in Superior Court. He's a lawyer, and at the doctor's office at the same time as our meeting. And so he did not ask to reschedule and has not asked to reschedule since. So, and that was the question that we invited him to say is, what is the trustees' vision for this school? So I absolutely agree with you. It would be nice to have that information. And likewise, I mean, yes, I would think, I have no idea what would come about if people went through a process like happened with data science. I would imagine that it would either have legs or it wouldn't after a while, and a decision would be made to move forward or not. Jennifer, right? No, Allison, I'm sorry.
I'm also at the business school, Allison Schlobaum, and I'm a graduate of the Department of Communication. And I'm very invested in the Ideas in Action Communication Beyond Carolina. I love it. I read the course outcomes. I send them to my colleagues. The class I teach, Management and Corporate Communication, is not on the list of classes that qualify. We're heading in that direction. If we do that, every business major will have to take a course that meets this requirement. Every single business major, we're a required course for every business major. We haven't gotten to that step yet. I'm a lowly clinical assistant, but we're working towards it. And so I just wanted to offer that as this isn't the only option. This school isn't the only option. There are things happening. I'm just reiterating what everyone's already said, and to keep them disentangled, to focus on ideas. I just think we have way more opportunity to use our brilliant minds than to build a new school within 3 weeks.
Okay, thank you for that. Anyone else right now? Now we do have a resolution from Professor Harry Watson from the Department of History for us to consider. And there may be folks that want to bring some amendments, friendly amendments, maybe not so friendly amendments. I have no idea. But anyway, Harry, would you like to introduce your resolution? I want to also just preface by saying the way that this often works in the Office of Faculty Governance is that someone wants to bring a resolution. Sometimes that comes about as part of a group discussion, an individual discussion. There is a time by which they need to have that resolution to Jill, and that's Tuesday. 72 hours ahead of time. And then that, but it is often the case that there is editing that goes on with that resolution, that there's a little back and forth with that resolution to get it in a form that we like to see in the office. So, and that happened in this case.
Thank you very much, Mimi. I appreciate that. I would like to say that, just building on what you just said, that there was a collaborative process involved in honing this resolution, and I certainly benefited very much from that. So I thank everybody involved in that collaboration. So it starts with 4 findings, and then several things in the that fit more in the category of resolutions. So I will start by saying the Faculty Council finds, number 1, on January 26th, 2023, the UNC-Chapel Hill Board of Trustees adopted a resolution requesting the administration of UNC-CH
Wrong
to
one.
accelerate its development of a school of civic life and leadership with a goal of a minimum of 20 faculty members and degree opportunities for undergraduate students. During the board's meeting, the resolution was described as an outgrowth of a budget request for $3 million to implement the existing requirements of the Ideas in Action curriculum. 2. On February 5th, 2023, the Faculty Executive Committee received a copy of an undated budget memo requesting $5 million in recurring funds to create a new school of civic life and leadership within the College of Arts and Sciences. The initial funding would be used to support development of the school, hiring of leadership, faculty, programming, staff, and expansion of the curricular work of the existing program for public discourse. That last part is a direct quotation. The budget requirements of the proposed new school were projected to grow to $12.6 million by the 2026 fiscal year. 3. Section 2-6 of the Faculty Code of University Government empowers the Faculty Council to determine the to determine the educational policies of the university and the rules and regulations under which administrators and faculty will conduct the educational activities of the university, and, well, close quote, and, quote, to prescribe the requirements for admissions, programs of study, and the award of academic degrees by the university in the context of the basic educational policies of the university and the special competences of the faculties in particular colleges and schools, close quote. 4. The faculty has not been consulted about the creation of a new degree-granting school at UNC-Chapel Hill. Until the Board of Trustees' public adoption of its January 26 resolution, faculty leaders were unaware that any such school had been proposed. Now, more or less the resolutions. Based on these findings, the Faculty Council resolves the College of Arts and Sciences should be supported in implementing the Ideas in Action curriculum. We maintain that implementing the Ideas in Action curriculum and establishing the proposed School of Civic Life and Leadership are conceptually separate undertakings that should not be entangled. The Faculty Council supports the adequate provision of resources to the college for the purpose of implementing all aspects of the Ideas in Action curriculum. New paragraph. The creation of a new degree-granting school on the UNC-CH campus is a matter for which faculty are responsible. The proposal for a new school of civic life and leadership did not originate with faculty, was not communicated to the faculty in advance, and has not been studied by the faculty. Faculty members' questions about the vision for the new program, such as the sequencing of coursework, the scholarship that supports the discipline, any overlap with existing courses or programs, and the utility of the program to our undergraduates have gone unanswered. Further, public assertions by some university leaders that we impose improper, quote, constraints on what can be taught in university classes, close quote, and that we need additional kinds of political, quote, balance, close quote, are false and unfairly malign this faculty. Moreover, the Faculty Council anticipates that the proposed school will consume badly needed resources for the university's existing programs and facilities. For these reasons, the Faculty Council disapproves any further action on such a school under these circumstances. And I move the adoption of this resolution.
Do we have a second? Okay, or Jill.
You want me to take it? Okay, is my microphone working? Okay, so we have a motion and a second. So the question that's before this body at this time is whether to adopt the resolution. We have an opportunity for discussion and Rich, microphone, please.
Thank you, Rich McLaughlin, Mathematics. I have a proposal for a slight amendment. Thank you for the work on that, Harry. It's been a while since I've seen you. Good to see you. I don't know if it's possible to bring it up. It's just a couple of edits that I think would make this, it's pretty clear the Board of Trustees, who's been supportive of this campus for forever, got things a little bit wrong in this one. They put the cart ahead of the horse. I think we should try to get the horse ahead of the cart here. And so I think just a couple of edits on this document would make that possible without fanning the flames. So the first edit I suggest is the paragraph 2, last sentence. I recommend removing that sentence. I don't think it's germane necessarily to this particular goal. And the last thing I suggest is a modification of the last sentence, which is a slightly different way of saying basically the same thing. For these reasons, the Faculty Council recommends no further action on this new school until such a time as a proposal from the faculty towards the school is developed and then properly discussed.
Thank you. And now I have to say a word about procedure because this is we've got a motion to amend the resolution as it was presented. So is there a second to the motion to amend? Okay, we've got at least 2 seconds right there. So so the amendment to the proposed resolution is now the issue that's before us for further discussion. I also just want to take a point of personal privilege and say thanks to Rich for letting me know that he wanted to propose an amendment and sending it to me in advance. That really made it easy for me to have this ready. Otherwise, I'd be typing frantically right now. But that's the reason it's already in front of you the way it is. Is there any discussion about this amendment? People want to speak in favor or opposed?
Does it matter if it's friendly amendment? In other words, if the author accepted the amendment,
okay, so there was a question about a friendly amendment. There is a friendly amendment. Am I really going to have to talk about Robert's rules? Okay.
Deep breath.
A friendly amendment under Robert's rules is treated as any other amendment, means that it requires a vote. However, Robert's rules also has a provision that if a body has a custom of conducting procedures in a particular way, that custom can be allowed to stand. In my experience, both as a member and as secretary, this body has had a longstanding custom of agreeing to friendly amendments if the proponent of the resolution agrees to accept the amendment as a friendly amendment. And because we've had that custom, we could do it that way. If anybody objects to the custom, then I am going to quote Robert's rules. The custom falls to the ground. And what that means is it dies forever. We don't have that custom anymore, not just for today, for this purpose, but ever again. So that is what I have to say about friendly amendments. I'm sure you all appreciated that.
So the question is, well,
So my recommendation, so yeah, we could do friendly amendments, but my recommendation would be for this one, since we already have a motion and a second, let's go ahead and vote it up or down. But if there are other, I believe personally that the friendly amendment works better if it's just like a change from one word to another one, which I hope we won't do too much of that, but yes. Of course, that's why discussion is open, is to speak in favor or against the amendment.
Okay, I just want to say that I think one of the issues for me with the last sentence is putting conditions on something like until such and such happens. And I think what it said before was, as of now, we're just saying no. And then whatever life brings us in the future, we can decide on that in the future. But I'm not as comfortable with putting in the condition until the time when these things happen, as if once these happen, then we all agree that we can move forward. And I'm not sure that I agree with that.
So you were speaking specifically about this part, the until such time.
Harry wants to respond, I think. Yeah.
I'd like to defend the resolution, if I may. First of all, it seems to me that in the general conversation about the proposed school, our colleagues have been sufficiently stirred up by this, that it seemed to me very important to give them and us an opportunity to simply say no, that this is not where we want. We do not want to get sucked into a procedural debate that will require a lot of committee work on a proposal that has been freighted with ideological intent from the very beginning. It is, I think it's frankly insulting to suggest that we are indoctrinating students, but that has been all over this proposal, both in the press and from the trustees. And I think we need to say loud and clear that that is not who we are. And that is why I worded the resolution as I did. And the second one, well, I think that those kind of blends together, that we should make it clear that this is not our monkey, to use the chair's phrase, and that we resent some of the language and the insinuations that have been made to support it. Thank you.
I understand that Jan Honig has his hand up on Zoom.
Thank you, Jan Hanek, Statistics and Operations Research. I have an issue with both the amendment and the resolution that seems to do what Mimi said we should not do, which is entangles the ideas in action and the new school. I would have been much happier if there were somehow two resolutions, one of them supporting the college in implementing the idea in action, and the other one discussing the political issues related with new school. But I don't know how to propose a change, so.
So the question before us right now is just whether to vote this amendment up and down. There are other motions that are possible, but Mimi.
Yeah, and so just to respond, I do think that the resolution, as it's stated, does separate those two ideas, because it is saying we are in favor of this, we're not in favor of that. So, and both versions actually of the resolution seem to do that, in my view. Keith, did you have a comment?
Oh, hi, Keith Sawyer in the School of Education. When I was listening to Bob Lewin's impressive presentation, what I was thinking was, this sounds like a roadmap, or if there is a faculty committee that forms to found this new school, we should do what Bob Lewin did. So Sridhar, I think is your name, you had asked, let's say this did come from the faculty and the faculty group had proposed it, what would we do then? And then no one had answered that because it didn't happen. I support the amendment. If it is the case that a faculty group emerges to work in the same way that Bob Lewin described, then I think the faculty should support that. It has not been helpful what's been going on in the media, but the resolution that came from the Board of Trustees is fairly, I'd say it's neutral. It doesn't say anything insulting in the resolution itself. But I support the amendment.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further, Joy?
Joy Renner, Radiologic Science. So I support the amendment as well. In fact, it's a game changer for me. We keep putting the horse before the cart and the cart before the horse. I think we're doing that again. The Board of Trustees advised acceleration of whatever. And let me be very clear. I am very unhappy with what the Board of Trustees did, the media circus that has been around it. So I want to be very clear about that. But the ball is in our court now on this campus, and the chancellor and the provost can decide whether to go forward with it, to form committees, et cetera. So Rich, I think your amendment helps me realize that we're putting this back in our control and what we do and what committees we form. And as you said, we can possibly go through the same process we did before. You know, the dean may decide he doesn't want a school, he may decide he wants a division or he wants a department or whatever it might be, but it will be organic. It will come from our campus as to where this goes from here.
Further, yes.
I would support separating out the ideas and action for this simple reason. I think that linking it up to the new school actually threatens it rather than strengthens it.
Threatens what?
The concept of ideas in action and supporting it, which there seems to be a lot of support around the board. And I would see that separating out those two is actually a better thing for ideas in action. Because if we put this together, then they all both get discussed in the same breath. And it's not clear to me that that's necessarily a good thing for ideas in action.
Okay, so to clarify at the, that could be a separate amendment. At this point, that I think you're talking about something that's different from the, I think you're talking about something that's different from the amendment we're discussing. The amendment we're discussing is just to make the changes.
Resources for ideas in action.
Right, that is, the proposed amendment is shown in redlining. And so what we're discussing right now is just the redlining. And once we resolve whether we want to accept the redlining, then we can move on to looking at the at the main motion, which is the resolution. Any further discussion about the proposed amendment? Eric?
Yeah, I'd like to speak. It's tough because there's two pieces, right? There's two pieces in this that are proposed to be changed in the same swoop. And so I don't have a terrible problem with the for these reasons at the bottom. That strikes me as very similar. I mean, it's a little different from the language it's replacing. But I'm uncomfortable with removing the further public assertions by some university leaders, ... Because I think that those, I mean, the Daily Tar Heel article from, I guess it's today, makes very clear that the comments by leaders of the Board of Trustees were part of the rollout of this resolution. So even if those words didn't appear in the resolution, they were planned to be stated contemporaneously with it. And I'll just say, as a person who teaches constitutional law at this university and has done it for 25 years, every day of my life is a walk across a minefield of abortion law, same-sex marriage, privacy rights. I could list 7 other topics, and each semester we all emerge from that process still standing in one piece. And I'll share that, you know, I know a number of my other colleagues who teach constitutional law routinely get faculty evaluations that tell us that that praise us for playing it up the middle, and for creating a space in which students of all views feel, at least from us, comfortable sharing their views. Now, they may have constraints that come laterally from other students. You know, that's a little harder for me to control, but for me, I think we do this. And so I do feel unfairly maligned by the suggestion that this is not something that I do.
So is there any burning other remarks on the amendment? I'm starting to notice the time, but I do want to give people a chance to speak.
Megan Plinge, I'm from Earth, Marine and Oceanic, whatever, Earth, Marine and Environmental Science. No, it's a new thing. What am I doing? Just to comment on that, I still would support the removal of that statement, despite the fact that I agree with what you're saying. But just like in the official resolution, they didn't bring it up. It was on this comments on the outside. I feel like our resolution would be stronger if we kind of, I don't want to say ignore that, but if that's not part of an official statement that we're making.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the amendment? Helena, do we have anyone on Zoom with a hand up? Okay. All right. So the question then is to vote on whether to approve the amendment. This is just the amendment. We'll come back to whether we're approving the resolution. Helena will call the roll for the vote. It does have to be a roll call because we're hybrid. Please be prepared. It'll be alphabetical by last name. Be prepared to, if you're in this room, you can shout it out. We'll get it. You don't have to go to the mic. We are voting on a single amendment, which has 2 changes. So, but you're voting on everything in red, up or down. Okay.
So I'm going to go kind of quick. Last names. If you're on Zoom, please unmute so you're ready. ICAT. And be loud if you're in the room. Alderman.
Yes.
You're gonna count these, you're gonna
Alex
add
Sanders.
10.
Did everybody on Zoom please mute unless you're speaking?
Alexander. Ansong.
Yes.
Balasubramanian. Yes. Becker. Birch.
Yes.
Campbell. Charles. Clement.
Yes.
Colford.
Yes.
Cook. DeFay. DeHart Davis. Carpentier.
Yes.
DeVoris.
Yes.
Donahue. Yes. Drummond.
No.
Entwistle. Estroff.
No.
Frederick.
Yes.
Helene, did you vote?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Freeman. Gates Foster.
Yes.
Gold. Gorowski.
Yes.
Hackney. Haggis.
No.
Halpern.
No.
Honick.
Yes.
Hodges. Jackson.
No.
Johnson.
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes.
Lacerna. Lane. Lensing.
George, I can see you.
You can just give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
George, do you just want to say yay or nay? Oh, there he is. Now we should be able to hear you.
Yes.
Okay. We were on the edge of our seats. Thanks.
Lopez. Ma.
Lopez is here, but I don't know what, did we hear his message? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, he's. You can just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if that's easier.
Renee, are you voting or are you abstaining? We can't hear you. Oh,
Yes.
yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. McEntee,
No.
McLaughlin. Yes. McNeely. Yes. Mirotra,
Yes.
Menard. Mendez. Metcalf.
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
Mahanti,
Yes.
Morocco. Mueller. Neal. Nichols. Penton.
Yes. I'm sorry, Nichols was yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
Yeah, and Penton is yes as well.
I got that. Thank you. Pettifor.
Yes.
Plenge. Reisner. Renner. Riz.
Yes.
Roberts.
Yes.
Rose. Sathi.
Yes.
Schlobum. Senya.
Yes.
Jennifer Smith. Kelly Smith. Thornburg.
Yes.
Thorpe. Triumph.
Yes.
Curry.
No.
Vernon Fegans.
Yes.
Vines.
No.
Wall. Watson. Weiler.
Yes.
Wingate.
No.
Wolf. Yagubi.
Yes.
Young.
No.
Zeman. Zamrati.
Is that it?
Hold on. Kim Brownlee has her hand up. Kim, did you want to vote?
Yes, I vote, I missed my name earlier, lost my audio. Sorry about that. I vote no. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, the motion passes. So what that means now is that I am going to magically accept all of these changes. And I think that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, I'm gonna accept all changes. And so now this is what we have. This
Can
is
I-
what the resolution looks like now. And the question before the body is the main resolution. Is there any discussion about the resolution? Yeah. Jean.
Hi, Jean Cook, biochemistry and biophysics. Is it possible for us to have two different resolutions, one about supporting ideas in action and another one about the school? Because even though it does specifically say these are conceptually separate undertakings, the fact that they're discussed in the same resolution might be interpreted as we link these in our minds too. But that would mean voting down this resolution, but hoping someone, because you did a great job, would propose them as separate resolutions?
The way that could potentially work, there is a procedure for a motion to divide. I don't think that I've ever seen it used in this body.
No time like the present.
It would require a judgment that the issues are divisible. I do think that in the body of the resolution itself, it would be possible to divide the first paragraph under the faculty council resolves from the remaining paragraphs. I think that could work. I'm not sure that the findings are divisible. So that would likely mean that they're repeated in both. So there could be, we could do that. It'd be a fancy new procedure for us.
You know, I think that we can make this clear that these are separate entities, even though they are both discussed. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I think I'm going to get the pronunciation now wrong, but Sidra, I think you were making the same point. So I think that, you know, there is often when we send this over, we send it with a letter. So I think we can create a letter that makes it very clear what's happening, and really the entire, I think, flow of this meeting divides these two pieces. So from the standpoint of having 10 minutes left and a procedure that we've never used before, I might encourage us to consider it as a whole. Oh, sorry.
In the Zoom, it's Jan.
Okay, so Jan, you have your hand up.
Yes, I wanted to move that we divide it, but I don't know if we have enough time to do it.
Okay, so are you making a motion to divide or not?
Yes, I.
Okay, is there a second? Jean seconded it. Okay, I got to look up what kind of vote that requires.
Okay, in the meantime, I noticed that the chancellor has joined us. And so maybe we can take a break while Jill is sorting, and we could ask the chancellor if there's something he wants to say to us right now.
Great. Thanks, Mimi. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me, Mimi?
Yes.
Okay, great. So first of all, I'm sorry to be joining late. Normally I'm on the front end of the meeting. I'm in the last part of the meeting today, but the system office pulled the chancellors together this afternoon with the governor for a roundtable discussion focused on the issues of mental health. We also had a special meeting of the Board of Trustees, and I'll share more about that at the end here. But you know, I do want to say something briefly about the mental health challenges, and I want to thank you, our faculty, because it's important to collaborate with our system schools on some of the measures we've put in place here, and you've been a big part of that. You know, the health and well-being of our students is really important to all of us, and I'm encouraged by all the work that we're doing, and much of that's faculty-led. And I think the 2 wellness days earlier this week, I was out on campus quite a bit yesterday and the day before, and I think those wellness days, well-being days, as we're calling them, really are making a difference. And I want to thank you for the way you're participating in those to help rejuvenate everyone, including you know, our staff and in some ways, and students and faculty. But so I'm not going to provide full remarks today as I am arriving at the end of the meeting. But I do want to say that I am so proud of our faculty and all that you're doing to bring you know, our students and communities across our state together. The work that you do matters. And I want you to know that you're supported and appreciated by those that you serve. You know, I have complete confidence in the quality and the education that we provide to our students, and the research and scholarship that we pursue. The work of the faculty is the reason that we are, as I like to say often, the leading global public research university. And in times of hilarity, the faculty will do what we have always done. We will set the academic standards for this institution and serve as the marketplace of ideas in developing and delivering curriculum to serve our students as future citizens of a changing and challenging world. While the idea of a new offering at our university began outside of our typical process, we are beginning you know, bringing the proposal into line with how initiatives like this are evaluated and have always been evaluated and developed at our university. And we will follow that process and exploring and considering new ideas. I know that there was several people spoke today, and unfortunately I wasn't able to be with you to hear that. I know that Dean Jim White's heavily involved in this, and I believe had the chance to talk today as well. But I have no doubt about our faculty's ability to lead this process and to continue to foster an environment of rigorous debate and scholarship. As I like to say often, we're built for this. This is what we do as faculty. Take interesting ideas and research them, deliberate and develop them, and that will never change if this is to move forward in any way. So I know I speak for the provost as well, who shares my support and confidence in our faculty. So thank you for all you're doing. And on that note, I'll just say that the provost would be here, but he is actually over a meeting with the School of Government faculty right now to announce their new dean. And I will share with you, as I think there's probably a notice going into your inboxes shortly, but Professor Amy Wall has been officially appointed as the next dean of the School of Government, replacing Dean Mike Smith, who announced that he was stepping down about a year ago, and has continued to support the school as its dean. But I think you're going to really enjoy working alongside Amy. Many of you know Amy. She's been on the faculty since 2001 and has most recently been serving as the senior associate dean alongside Mike Smith. So when you have a chance, congratulate Amy. I know she's going to do a fantastic job. So with that, I will turn it back over to you, Mimi.
Okay, thank you very much, Chancellor. All right, now, Jill, how are you feeling?
That a motion to divide is not debatable. You don't get to debate whether or not it's a good idea. You just have to vote, but it will be a roll call vote. And I've asked Helena to call as rapidly as possible. And I'd ask each of you to be ready to vote as soon as your name is called, alphabetical order by last name. Go. Ikett. Alderman.
Yes.
Alexander. Yes. Ansong.
Yes.
Subramanian. Benz. Boyd. Brownlee.
No.
Campbell.
Abstain.
Who's abstaining? Campbell. Okay. Charles. Clement.
Yes.
Fulford. Cook. Yes. DeFay. Yes. DeHart Davis. Carpentier.
Abstain.
DeVaris.
Yes.
Donahue. Yes. Drummond.
No.
Honick. Did people hear their names? Did everyone hear their names? Hodges.
No. Zoom went out for a minute.
Wait, yes, I didn't hear anything. Did you say honey?
Yes. Okay, can you go
So
back to
Honick-
Estroff? Can you go back to Estroff, please?
Okay, I'm gonna go back to the E's where I think people stop. Estroff. Frederick.
Yes.
Freeman. Frederick is yes.
Yes.
Gates Foster.
Yes.
Gurowski.
No.
Hackney. Haggis.
No.
Alpern.
Yes.
Hodges. Jackson.
Yeah, Honick wanted to vote yes, I think.
I already got his,
Okay.
yes. Jackson. Johnson.
Yes.
Kraus. Lane. Lensing. Lynn.
George, did you want to vote?
Yes.
Lynn. Lopez. Ma. McKenty.
Abstain.
McLaughlin. McNeely. Marotra.
Yes.
Menard. Mendez. Metcalf. Mayor.
Yes.
Mahanti. Yes.
Morocco, Muller, Neal, Nichols,
Yes.
Penton,
Yes.
Pettifor,
Yes.
Plenge, Reisner, Renner, Reyes,
Yes.
Roberts,
Abstain.
Rose, Safi,
Yes.
Schlobum, Senya,
Yes.
Jennifer Smith, Thornburg,
Abstain.
Triumph,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Vernon Fegans,
Yes.
Vines,
Yes.
Wall, Watson, Weiler,
Yes.
Wingett. Oh, okay, I got that. Thanks. Wingett,
No.
Wolf, Yagubi,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Zeman, Zamrati. Okay, the motion to divide has passed. And what that means for purposes of the remaining votes is that we have two resolutions to vote on, and it's going to be two more roll calls. And I hope that you will all stay with us for these two roll calls, and we'll do them as quickly as possible. The first resolution will include the findings of the faculty. I would like to ask for, yeah, okay. The first resolution will include the findings. The first resolution will include the statement about the College of Arts and Sciences and will not include the findings of the faculty, which are relevant to the school issue, but not the germane to the school issue, but not funding of the college. So the first, I'm sorry, I misstated that earlier. The first resolution is just this part. So let's have a roll call vote on just this. Go.
Could we do it by unanimous consent?
No, we can't. Sorry. I don't expect it to be unanimous, Jan. Okay. Iket. Alderman,
Yes.
Alexander, Ansung,
Yes.
Balasubramanian, Brownlee,
Yes.
Birch,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Charles, Clement,
Yes.
Colford, Cook, DeFay. DeHart Davis, Carpenter,
Abstain.
DeVaris,
Yes.
Donahue, Drummond,
Abstain.
Estroff,
Yes.
Frederick, Freeman, Gates Foster,
Yes.
Gorowski,
Yes.
Haggis,
Yes.
Halpern,
Yes.
Honig, Jackson,
Yes.
Jackson, yes. No, that was.
No, Honig, yes.
well,
Sorry.
both of you are yes. Thank you. Johnson,
Yes.
Kraus, Lensing,
Yes.
Lopez,
McEntee,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
McNeely, Mirotra,
Yes.
Menard, Mendez,
Yes.
Metcalf,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
Mahanti,
Yes.
Morocco, Mueller, Neal, Nichols,
Sorry, I couldn't find the unmute. Yes.
Penton,
Yes.
Pettifor,
Yes.
Plenge, Reisner, Renner, Reyes,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Safi,
Yes.
Schlobum, Senya,
Yes.
Jennifer Smith, Thornburg,
No.
Tryon,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Vernon Fegans,
Yes.
Vines,
Yes.
Wall, Watson, Weiler,
Yes.
Wingate,
Yes.
Yagubi,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
and Zeman. That's it.
Okay, the question before the body now is whether to approve the remainder, which is the findings plus these parts of the resolution as a second matter for the discussion or debate. Okay, let's have a vote.
Iket. Alderman,
Yes.
Alexander. Ansong,
Yes.
Balasubramanian. Brownlee,
Yes.
Birch,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Clement,
Yes.
Colford, Cook, DeFay, Carpentier,
Yes.
DeVeris,
Yes.
Donahue, Drummond,
Abstain.
Estroff,
Yes.
Frederick,
Yes.
Freeman, Gates Foster,
Yes.
Gurowski,
Yes.
Haggis,
No.
Halpern,
Yes.
Honig,
Abstain.
Hodges, Jackson,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Kraus, Lensing,
Yes.
Lynn, Lopez, McEntee,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Metcalf, McNeely, Mirotra,
I vote yes.
Mendez,
Yes.
Metcalf,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
Mahanti,
Yes.
Morocco, Mueller, Neal, Nichols,
Yes.
Penton,
Yes.
Pettifor,
Yes.
Plenge, Reisner,
Renner. Reyes,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Rose, Sathi,
Yes.
Schlobam. Senya,
Yes.
Jennifer Smith. Thornburg,
Abstain.
Thorpe. Triumph,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Brennan Fegans,
Yes.
Vines,
Yes.
Wall. Watson. Weiler,
Yes.
Wingate,
Yes.
Wolf, Yagubi,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Zeman. That's it. Both resolutions have passed. Thank you all very much. We also had committee reports on the agenda. I recommend that we postpone them to next month.
Excellent recommendation. All right. Thanks to all. We stand adjourned.